Welcome to Interior Analysis. I'm Evan Westman,
I'm Jelani Kelly.
I'm David Jones.
and today we're talking about Eighth Grade, the Bo Burnham A24 movie. This had been on my watch list for a while, and now that I've finally seen it, it's exceeded my expectations. And I've kind of not been able to stop thinking about it for the past month, because we've pushed this episode back a couple times to do other ones. I'm guessing neither of you had seen it.
Nope.
Nope.
So first time for all three of us then. Are you guys familiar with any of Bo Burnham's other work?
Yes.
I know he does comedy songs. That's it.
Have you guys seen Inside?
Yes.
No.
Thoughts on Inside, David, if you care to share, or if you feel they're relevant. I was kind of mid on it, so I don't really have much to say with it.
Yeah, just that's kind of like just to do like his whole kind of stand-up career before screenwriting and directing. My experience with Bo Burnham, I had friends. I think he's really popular among the theater crowd, and I had friends in the theater scene in high school who were really into him, and they even went to Philly to see him when he was still low key. I always thought he was fine. Like there hasn't been one special, including Inside, where I'm like really where everyone else is with the hype. Like it's kind of like I'm a big Beyonce fan, and people like will look at me like, is she really worth like that hype? And like that's kind of how I feel about some of Bo Burnham's fans. Like when I watch the specials, where like I'll enjoy it, but I'm like, he's not comedy on the caliber of like other comedians that I see getting Netflix specials. So in my opinion, so that's always kind of been like yeah, mid. Every special was mid. I think he's a better writer than he is singer, and I think he definitely leans into that in his like sets.
Yeah, I don't think he pretends to be good at singing ever.
But yeah, he's always been somebody like in my life the past 10 years, but he's never been someone I gravitated to, which is kind of similar, at least for stand up, to John Mulaney. Like I'm not a big John Mulaney person, but a lot of people I know like really love John Mulaney.
Okay, so mid on Bo Burnham otherwise.
Yeah.
All right, then let's get into initial reactions. I loved this. It feels like it's one of the best examples of like movies as a vehicle for empathy and like showing somebody else's experience, or like bringing the audience into a person's experience.
Yeah.
A complete experience too. Like it felt very holistic, where sometimes like we talked about half-assing theme, and sometimes people half-ass like the experience for the character, and this felt like, even if it's small, because it is small, it felt so full and whole.
For sure. I want to get into. I have some reasons for why I think it's successful at that in some of our topics. Because I agree. I feel like it's like I'm gonna probably say this a few times, but I feel like this movie is like the anti-Boyhood and anti-traditional biopic. In a lot of like it does right what I feel like a lot of those do wrong, or like they try to do but they're unsuccessful. Jelani, what were your initial thoughts?
It did not have me in the first half. Not gonna lie. I thought I was going to just dislike it by the end, because the awkwardness of it all was just like, it felt like they were zooming in on it. It was a little too painful. Like the whole pool party thing, I was just like, oh my god. And then I found myself rooting for her around the time she got invited to the mall. Also, the videos were awkward and painful, but I think it really did. I ended up enjoying it. It did a really good job capturing the awkwardness of growing up, and not like I was expecting some because it was still a movie by the end, so I was expecting some wild stuff to happen, and I was expecting like everything to be solved by the end, and then I realized at a certain point I was just like, I guess it's not that kind of movie, and that's perfectly fine.
I'm really glad it's not.
Yeah.
I would have felt really betrayed if they had that kind of ending.
Yeah. I guess we were all 8th grade all along.
The real friends were the 8th grade that we made along the way.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it again. Like, I'm not gonna say ever. Never say never, but like, it was good for what it was, I think.
Okay. David, did you have more for your initial reactions?
Oh yeah, my initial reaction, it was like I've come to like the movie more after like sleeping on it and viewing it. Like it's like a brain worm to me. Like when I was watching it, I didn't think much of it. Like I was just like taking it in, and some of the moments really worked for me, and some of them with Jelani, especially in the first half, you could feel like they really do the awkward thing, which I wasn't surprised because of how Bo Burnham's stand up is, and I was like, okay. But like by the time she has the panic attack at like the pool, that's like that was done so well, just capturing that experience as someone who has them and like just what that feels like, and to have that cinematically done and her performance with it, I was like, yeah. And like the trigger of it and being like the fat kid growing up my whole life and like never wanting to take my shirt off at the pool, I was like, this is so relatable and so well done, and there's no dialogue and it's just visuals and cinema. And then like Jelani said, there's no big cinematic like spectacle moment that you would get from like a huge movie. So you feel like, when's this kind of ending gonna come? And then when it does end in that more real tone where it's not tied up neatly, it gives you like, things are getting better, but it's not always going to be good, and take it day by day, and we're going to try to persevere. It was like, I like this. This is a message that like it's an R-rated movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not, maybe kids won't be watching it, but it's a message that like I think kids could get behind, like, and should be introduced to at that age at least, because like a lot of the stuff they show in the movie is what's going down for the kids. So like, why do you not want to equip them to handle those situations?
Do you guys recognize any of the actors?
No, I don't think I do.
I don't think so.
Okay, I think that also helps it. Like, it doesn't distract from, I think, the realism it's trying to emulate. A bunch of people we don't know. Yeah, I think that I don't know why exactly. I can't come up with words as to why, but I think that helps.
I
'Cause
agree.
it doesn't distract from like what's going on or any character moments or anything like that. Like, oh, what is old boy doing in this movie? I recognize them. What's going on? Like, there's nothing like that. So,
Yeah, I think the dad, Josh Hamilton, is the actor. I guess he's been in stuff, but I don't really know him from anything. Maybe that's just me. But if he's the biggest name in this, like, yeah, I think it, and it helps that it's all kid actors, but it's not like they got Disney Channel actors for
Yeah.
this. And for the casting process, I think that was deliberate because, like, he doesn't say Disney Channel or like kids show acting style, but like Bo Burnham talks about casting Elsie Fisher, and I watched a bunch of interviews with him, and something he kept saying was, I didn't want a confident kid pretending to be shy. I wanted a performance that felt like a shy person pretending to be confident. And that is like so essential to this movie. Like,
Yeah.
if you got that like Disney Channel kind of kid, it would ruin it.
yeah, like if Zendaya played.
No shade to Zendaya, but
No,
she is
no,
very
no.
wrong for this kind of role.
No, not at all. You guys think they'll be in 8th grade too?
Ninth grade.
8th grade to 9th grade.
Taking it to
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah, definitely not. I wouldn't mind seeing like a different like this for a different kind of kids experience. It would be good to see some like spiritual sequels to this.
It also felt real because like the comedy, it wasn't like I looked up the genre, and it's drama and like comedy drama, and it's not really comedy drama. There's nothing really funny about the movie. I just think like the awkward moments that happen are funny, some of them, but I think it also helps that there was no like for example the scene where it's quiet, like she's not, they actually don't play the audio, but the scene where she sings in front of the pool party people, and like normally in other movies there'd be like, if it was comedy there'd be like an awkward pause, and then somebody would be like, oh, that was trash, and then they all start laughing, or like if this were a Disney Channel movie, they would have started singing with her or some shit. And I'm glad now that one of those things happened. It's just little things like that that I think added to the movie's experience.
Agreed. Like tonally, I feel like it invites you to laugh, but it's never asking you to exactly. Because like you've been saying, like it's awkward. And personally, like there's some comedies that do really try for like the awkwardness is why you're supposed to laugh, and I feel like it's
The
I feel like it's
Office.
way more painful in those. Like I don't think the awkwardness was as painful for me as it sounds like it was for you, Jelani.
Oh no, it was.
But there's
it
a
was bad.
lot of like broad comedies where they go for the awkwardness, and that is painful for me sometimes. Can't think of an example off the top.
Office.
The Office. Yeah, that's part of why The Office doesn't work great for me. Not that it doesn't work, but I'm not like a big fan of it.
Yeah, no, there was. Man, I keep going back to the pool party. The scene where, oh god, I think I buried my face in my hands at some point because the when they said it's time for Kayla's gifts and she opened the thing, she was just like, "What is it?" She was like, "Yeah, it's like Go Fish, but like more fun." I was just like, "Oh, stop talking." Oh no. No, no, no. Why didn't you get her like an iPad or something, bro? Like,
What kind of birthday party is this? There you giving him an
you
iPad?
should have gotten her an iPad, and then she would have been your best friend, and then everything would have been okay with the rest of the movie.
I love the way that comes back too. It comes back in such like a great petty middle school fashion, and it's just
Oh,
so
yeah.
brutally honest at the end. And I was like, wow,
If
this
you
took
would
me
play
back.
it and stop trying to be cool, and it's just like, oh boy, you're not even looking her in the face. Okay, you go, Kayla. Good job. You guys think the movie was awkward?
I think the first half was more awkward than the second
yeah.
half,
Yeah.
but I didn't find it ever too awkward. Like when I think of like awkward comedies, like to me, like the number one is like Napoleon Dynamite, where like it's just trying to awkward and cringe you
Napoleon
out.
Dynamite.
And it's like those sometime work for me. They don't have a lot of rewatch for me. Like it's a one-time shop usually for me. But I was like, okay, is that gonna be this movie? But I didn't think like by like the fifth or sixth scene, I was like, okay, I don't think that's what this movie's trying to do. And I appreciate that it went in a more unique, its own kind of novel route.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think its main goal seems to just be like honestly capturing this experience. It's not trying to do any genre things as far as I can tell. Like the awkwardness is there to be real. It's not there to be like, oh, just like turning up the cringe meter. It's only there because that's how being 13 feels, and it's trying to, you know, capture that, I think.
I think it does it well too. Like I think it really captures. I think it's called spotlight syndrome. From my psychology class in college, where it's just like you think at that age, like everybody's looking at you, all eyes on you. You're like
I
full
still
main
think
character
that.
mode, and it's like I get that, especially when you're out and about. It's hard not to, and I think when you're a kid, it's so amplified.
I thought it was just anxiety or paranoia.
I'm sure they're related. I feel like at this point, everything's anxiety. You go
Yeah.
into my therapist, and they're like, "Well, you know, anxiety and depression."
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the she talked about the butterflies thing where she was like, I could just be doing nothing. I could just be doing nothing, and it feels like I'm waiting in line for a roller coaster, but I never get that feeling of after the roller coaster. I'm just like, fuck, bro, that's a great way to describe it.
And I'm so impressed and proud that she did at that age, because I just articulated it that way to my mom like 3 weeks ago when I had to go get a haircut. I hate getting haircuts. I hate people touching me. I hate people touching my head. I hate the whole thing. And I was like, I just have to get a haircut. And my mom was like, what does it feel like? And I like literally was like, you know, when you're in line for a roller coaster and that feeling in your stomach? That's how I feel driving to the barber shop. And she's like, that's crazy. I could not even believe that. And then she said that, and I was like, this is so real. Like, down.
Do we want to? Well, we're kind of already there, I feel like. So, Jelani, you wanted your topic to be capturing growing up. It sounds like you've already gotten into some of it, but you want to
Yeah, that shit
kick
sucks,
that
bro.
off more.
Don't grow up if you can help it, but everybody has to. So
Yeah,
ignore
adults
that.
have the best recruitment strategy. Give them enough time, we'll turn any kid into one of them.
Oh God.
I stole that joke, but it was pretty good.
Oh God. You didn't need to steal it. It could have stayed where it was.
If you ever like get the rights to Peter Pan though, that's a fire line of dialogue. Like, could you imagine? The kids would be like, ah.
That was icky.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No,
That's your
you're
ick.
good.
New ick unlocked.
My first thought was, is this what it's like to grow up now? Social media was becoming more and more prevalent when I was around this age, mainly high school. I'm guessing with them having access to Instagram and stuff, like this is what it's like more now. I'm surprised they didn't like harp on followers or likes, or it didn't go into. I'm fine that it didn't, but yeah, my first thought was, is this what it's like to grow up in this time period with every kid having a phone and access to social media? If so, I hate it. Another thing I already said, they hone in, they really zoom in on the awkwardness of just this age in general, and especially if you're a quiet kid, like you don't really see the awkwardness in any of the other kids. They're just, you see projections of who they're going to be when they're older. Also, the dialogue is pretty realistic as well. I don't normally think it works in movies, but like this type of dialogue, but for something I believe was trying to emulate real life, everything from like cutting each other off to verbal tics like yeah, and like were spot on. The moral of the story is growing up is trash, and it did a good job capturing how trash it is. Except it ended on a hopeful note, and like, and then she had to go to high school, so like we don't see the ups and downs of that, obviously, but I can't imagine it was all hope. High school was trash too. Is high school trash for y'all?
I would take middle school over high school if I had to do either again.
I'd
Except
take-
maybe not 6th grade. 6th grade was probably my least favorite year, but 7th and 8th were okay.
I'd take neither. I don't want any of it again.
I definitely don't want to redo high school. High school was
Yeah, I'm
not
good.
fun.
Leave it all in the past.
Middle school I at least had recess, so...
Oh yeah, I played basketball all the time.
One thing that I thought while watching this in terms of capturing growing up was like, I got to the end, and I don't know how much to stand by this, but I was like, okay, middle school is officially harder for girls than it is for boys. I don't believe that across the board, to be clear, but like, my memory of middle school is like, if you could play sports as a boy, like, that helps a lot. Like you don't have to be able to talk about anything deep. You just have to be able to throw something. And, like, you can probably make friends with somebody on a long enough timeline.
Hey, you throw that ball really well, man. Thanks, man.
No, like, well, but it's, I don't know, like, sports counts for so much for middle school boys in my experience.
Yeah.
And Bo Burnham talked about, like, in his process for this, how he watched a lot of, like, small YouTubers of all ages, but he said what he found with, like, these kids who had, like, very, very few views, with the girls, they would talk about their souls, and the boys would just talk about Minecraft. So he's like, well, okay, one of those two is a lot more interesting to me now as an adult. So, because he didn't want to make a 90-minute movie about Minecraft. And I think post 2018, that would be Fortnite. But that wasn't around yet when he was making this.
This also reminded me of when I started YouTube. I mean, I think I started in high school. But, yeah, the cringy... I've privated those videos now, and they're also on a separate channel than my public one. Yeah, it brought back some cringe-ass memories. That's also why the awkward was that bad for me, because I was just like, oh, God. Why are you ending every video with Gucci? What was that?
Yeah, their voice gets like higher.
Gucci!
It's just the
It's
hand
like,
thing. Gucci.
what are you doing? What are
But
you?
like, oh my god, me though, like 15-year-old me making Minecraft YouTube videos, like after being up for 32 hours, being like, "What's up, everybody?" Like that's
Oh,
it was so it was
oh
like I was looking at
no.
myself.
I couldn't listen. I didn't really edit my videos, bro, because I couldn't listen back to my own voice. Holy hell. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't even like listening back to early episodes of this podcast because of my voice. Like
Mm,
the ones when I was just recording on my iPhone.
yeah.
Like they're. It's not that I don't like what I'm saying most of the time. It's how like. I think it took a little while to like speak decently in like podcast form.
Hmm.
And ditto to every review that I wrote. Holy shit! Like.
Oh yeah, I know you hate your old reviews.
Yeah, I've kind of accidentally deleted them, so I can't reread them if I want. But I was thinking of those after I finished this. I was like, I'm glad I never did a YouTube channel when I was younger. And I was like, but you wrote 300 bad movie reviews. So there was plenty in there.
Yeah, that counts.
Plenty of bad takes in there.
That counts.
Yeah.
You just didn't have your face on camera. That's the only difference.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, I was thinking the kind of, like, YouTube stuff that Kayla does in this is, like, way more vulnerable. Like, you could take any, like, just pluck one of my reviews out, and there's not necessarily, like, insight into my psychology at the time or whatever. But some of them there probably was. Where, like, I don't know, the movie was dealing with some, like, issue that I had like previously like never been exposed to, and it's really just like it was probably really just me processing what I thought about that than like saying anything insightful about the movie. I'm not really sure because it's been so long since I've read any of them, but I know there was some of that in it, and I wanted to just bring that up later for a different topic. But like I really like the device of her YouTube videos because it gives us a really good insight into her psychology, because she's like projecting one thing, but at least we as more adult viewers like can see what she's really feeling.
Oh yeah.
And I wonder this about the whole movie, but especially like that kind of stuff. Like, how does that hit for watching this as a 13-year-old?
I'm not 13, Evan. I don't know.
I'm asking rhetorically, but like, I just wonder how many moments of this hit for somebody who is this age.
Yeah.
Or even somebody who like is, I don't know, I think Kayla time-wise would be like 19 now, like freshman or sophomore in college probably. Like, do people who are that age who like were in 8th grade in 2017, like, I don't know, how does that hit for them? Where else did either of you want to go with the capturing growing up topic?
Arguing with parents, it'd be like that. Though she was speaking to her parents all kinds of crazy. And I don't know about y'all, but as a black kid with black parents, I probably would have died a couple times in this movie where she was talking to her dad all types of crazy. I would have been killed and brought back somehow. But dad was kind of a weak father. I know I went through some things as a teenager and pushed the boundaries, but like I never went as so far as to like that car scene where she was just like, stop being weird, but don't talk to me. But
yeah, that was
eyes.
like one of the
just
only
like,
moments that I was like, I don't know if I like buy this.
I was just like, okay.
She threw the banana.
At him. Oh yeah, that whole
That's
thing.
crazy.
I was just like, yo.
14-year-old me could never, or 13-year-old me could never throw a banana or anything at my parents.
I
or
couldn't
any adult.
hit
Yeah.
my parents. Like they could be
Same.
beating me up. Not actually, but like I can't imagine ever, even now, putting my hands on my parents or throwing anything at them. Bro, if I ever threw anything at my parents, it would be back and hit me in the forehead, and then I'd wake up in the hospital. Like,
Literally.
like there is no.
It would just
freaking
turn into
way.
a boomerang mid-flight.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wouldn't even see them. Like they would develop some sort of superhuman something, and it would just. I wouldn't even see them
It's
move.
the Waffle House lady.
Oh, with the
Just catches that
the
chair. And
chair.
throws
Yep.
it. Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. Nah. I wasn't with that. I don't know why he let her talk to him like that. Maybe Did the mom die? That's what I was inferring.
It sounded like the mom left. They don't really make it clear, but I think
She got a
I think it
deadbeat
was
mom.
left and not died.
Okay. Even still, like, why does he let her talk to him like that? He has a whole speech about, like, not being afraid for her, but, like, does he actually understand her? He seems like he tries, but, like, he kind of just lets her do whatever. I'm just like, nah.
Yeah, I kind of felt myself identifying equally with both of them in the scenes with the dad. Like, I was like, I kind of sympathize with him, like, trying to get through to her, but also, like, sympathize with her seeing how he's not, like, connecting and feeling just, like, secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll change with age, but I felt like watching it this time, I was like, I feel like I'm on, like, equal footing with both of them.
That mall scene where he was spying on her, I was just like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, God. Oh, you're bad at this. He wasn't even
That's a
trying
scene
to
that
be.
changed my opinion of him, to be honest. Because, like, up until that point, I was more sympathizing with him because I was like, I don't know, maybe I thought he's written in like an idyllic way that you want your father to like speak to you, where he's like, no, you're awesome, you're amazing, I love talking to you, your videos are great, because like my parents weren't telling me that. So they were like, do your homework, what are you talking about, stop making videos. And so I just, maybe I like was like wanting to hear that, but like by the time it got to the point where like I was like, all right, he's excited, she's like, can I go hang out with friends tonight? And then it's like, you're spying. Oh my God, this guy. Like at that point, I was like, are you part of the problem?
Yep.
Well, maybe he's just more of like a helicopter parent than, because I feel like
Yeah, but he's
the
bad
generation
at
of
being. You
parents
can't
now-
be bad at it. Like my dad is a helicopter parent, but like, hell, I don't. He could be watching me right now. Like I don't. I don't ever. I've never known when my. I think I called him one time in elementary school, as he was passing by my school, and I only knew because a kid pointed out the window. He had like. He also has like. He always is in some fly car. So, like, they noticed the car, and they're like, Johnny, is that your dad outside? I was like, oh, snap, it is. I think that's the only time I've ever seen my dad anywhere near me. I feel like he's always, like, not always watching, but if you're going to be a helicopter parent, what I'm saying is just be good at it. Like really good at it. Like, he wasn't even trying. He didn't have no glass. He didn't even put on a Marvel disguise, bro. Like, he was in full outfit. I took my daughter to the mall in this, and I'm gonna stand behind this pillar and hope nobody sees me popping my head out behind it.
I know, and like even outside of like effectively spy, he just looks so like he looks like just a creep ass dude in the mall.
Yeah. And like, he didn't expect his daughter to react that way at all. Come on, bro.
Yeah, I was fully on her side in that scene.
You
And what
gotta
kind of
know.
impression does that make to the friend?
Right.
Like, you were a high schooler. Like, it's already a disadvantage that, like, it's your high schooler friend bringing their shadow middle schooler. And now, like, the dad's hanging out. My God.
Yeah. You might as well just ask to come to the table, bro. Like, what was that? Also, side note, I think I had someone shadow me senior year. But I don't know if he ended up going to my high school because I graduated. So I hope not, though, because my high school was trash. And he was coming from, like, a private Jewish school or something. I don't think I ever explicitly told him not to go there. And plus, my circle of what you would call friends during that time was better than the rest of the people. But it wasn't great. Growing up's weird.
It is, and I'm glad that like that we have something like this that can be a little more honest about it. I also kind of wish that like stuff made for kids could be a little more honest about that. It's largely the rating system. It's also like,
yeah.
I don't know, like I was thinking about like if I saw this at 13, like would I like it? I don't know. Probably not. Would it hit for me the way it's supposed to? Also probably not.
I feel like this is definitely something that would be shown in schools, though. Like a health class or something. I don't know. Probably.
I think it would be good to. I don't think it would.
Oh, because it's rated R.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah. The rating system sucks ass.
the rating system does. We've
Have a whole
had
episode on it.
had a whole episode on that, but this is like kind of a prime example of why like kids live in this world. You have like a situation where like if a kid has the internet, there's no safety guards there.
Mm-hmm.
The one safety guard is, are you 18? That's it. So like why and like I kind of get the societal impulse to like try and shelter kids or whatever, but also like if this is their experience, like why are we pretending it? Like I feel like Diary of a Wimpy Kid is like the fantasy version of what we wish middle school were like, to a certain extent as a society, but like this is what it is.
Yep. I've never understood the swearing thing. There were people, we started swearing. I'm not going to say we, but East Coast people, we started swearing in elementary school, bro. I don't know. I don't know. The rating system is weird. Like, there's just things there. They're trying, like you were saying, trying to act like we shouldn't know about. But like you said, we have access to the internet. We know things we shouldn't. This is still, like, pretty tame. Like, it shouldn't be rated
No, for
R.
sure.
I agree.
It shouldn't be rated R.
I don't. What is the R rating for? What got it
Language.
up?
It's got a couple
Yeah,
F-bombs.
there's more than 3 F words, so that alone.
Okay.
And probably like there's enough like sexual stuff in here that would do it too, probably.
Shockingly, I think it's definitely the F bomb. I think if if it wasn't, they took out the F bombs, this could be a PG-13.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that, but I am so glad. And I'll just get into this here. Like the scene in the car with Riley is like the main reason I am really, really glad that they didn't scale this down to a PG-13, because like, and it's an incredibly uncomfortable scene, but I think you just need to feel as unsafe as the audience as she does there. And if you have this as a PG-13, there is a safety belt there that doesn't let it hit the way that it should. Because not much happens. But like the whole time, like as soon as Olivia got out of the car, and as was like, oh no,
No, as
you
soon
should have
as-
stayed in the car.
As soon as she said,
Are you sure?
yeah, you can be dropped off first or whatever, like, I was just like, oh no, shut up. What are you doing? I really thought Olivia was gonna try and, like, not save, well, I guess save her. Be like, no, we're gonna drop you off first. But she's
Yeah,
just
that's
like, are you
like-
sure? Okay, bye. It's like, fuck, man.
The second she got out of the car, I tensed up so hard.
Yep. And then Riley was like, I'm gonna join you in the back seat. Truth or dare. And I was just like, please stop. This is...
It's directed so well too. The
Oh, yeah.
lighting and all of the little motions. Oh my god! Like that's the thing that really blows me away. That this is his like out the gate writing and directing debut. Like he directs with so much intent that it really doesn't feel like a first.
Not being able to see his face the whole time.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, that is a good touch, though.
The shadow is so good. The lighting in that scene.
Yeah.
And the shots from the back when the questions are asked, and it's just like, oh my god. Oh my god, they're lying. I can't handle it. It's too much.
Why are you back there? Oh, your shirt's off. Oh. I was really just once he got in the back seat, I was just like, how is he going to escalate this without him trying to not seem like a creep, even though he's definitely that anyway. And then, well, we know how it happened, but
Yeah, but like the whole thing of that scene is like just like the power dynamic that's there, and like the possibility of what could happen is like, and that's again why this needs to be R, because you can't have, like, if it's gonna hit the way that it's hitting for her, you cannot have a limit on how wrong that can go.
Yeah. Plus, in the prior scene, they had stated that they were 4 years older than her, so they were seniors. And I was just like, this is even more gross. I guess props to both actors in that scene. That was rough.
And like you said, the dialogue and the scene after that when they're driving home and the gaslighting he's doing, and then her and having her be like, okay, but you don't tell Olivia. I'm like, this is so real.
Yeah.
Like, this is too real. Like,
Because she doesn't want to
really
lose
is
her
effective.
friendship with her, or doesn't want to ruin the friendship between her and Olivia and Riley. And I'm just like, yeah, the gaslighting was also like super on point. I feel it's just like, oh, this guy he's doing it.
It also does kind of the like the same thing I feel like that the like party scene in Get Out does, where it makes like the bar, it lowers the bar for like what is bad in terms of like because in a way like you get to the end of that scene and it's like if you describe what happens on paper it's like okay, nothing happened, but no, something really happened.
Yeah.
Like it's a really traumatizing experience, even though it's like it almost like it's almost weird to describe like on paper, like why is that upsetting,
Right.
but like when you're in the shoes of like the receiving end of that, like it's you just like you feel how powerless she feels in that moment.
Yep.
On the note of well, not exactly leading off of that, but I do really like the inclusion of Olivia in this, and I kept worrying with her that like there was gonna be some kind of like artifice that was brought up where she like talked behind Kayla's back or something, or just like something that showed that the bond that they had was like fake or performative for some reason.
Yeah, she looks like she really just needs a friend. Yeah.
Right, I was waiting for that moment, and I'm really glad that didn't happen, because it just, I don't know, it was just nice that, like, the movie could be nice to her, and, like, give her a good role model.
Even though she did the dumbest thing of going home first when... I mean, I don't know if she expected that from Riley. He said they were friends. I don't know if they were tight like that.
Yeah, but that's still just, like, that's good situational, like, being safe practices, all things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she definitely should have made sure she got home first. And I'm not blaming... Riley is to blame.
Yeah, well, I also like how late, though, that she shows up in the movie, because we have to, like, feel how... Like, we have to feel Kayla's isolation long enough that, like, when she does meet Olivia, like, we feel how big of a deal that is for her.
Yeah, I was just praying she didn't overdo it. Like, please don't, like, say the wrong thing or anything. But she was still just her awkward self, and I was just like, okay, good. And Olivia seems to be genuine, which was... It felt better once, like, there was no moment, like what you said, an artifice, where their bond was fake, so...
I think that speaks to like the kind of nuance and the fresh breath of fresh air of like the experience the screenplay is capturing too. Like if this movie came out in the 90s or like early 2000s, like I think like the Princess Diaries era, like that moment that like the betrayal or the dupe would have been like at the mall, and it's like would have been the setup, and like so many things happen like that in those movies. And this movie kind of gives it to you both ways, where it's not going to be her, but she'll introduce you to the person that you can't trust and is going to make it unsafe for you. And like I do struggle because like I feel like she should at that, I don't know, in high school, like if she was a college person 100% she would have been like, no, take her home first and then drop me off.
Yeah.
But high school, I feel like I could buy the impressionability of like if Riley like put pressure on her to be like, okay, and then like also like just being like, all right, I don't want to bother anybody, I'm just gonna go home, see ya, text me if you need me. So I don't know, it's a hard one. I go back and forth with it.
It feels unfortunately believable that like Olivia wouldn't check or like make sure that Kayla got home. I don't know if I have more than that, but like I was like, yeah, I buy that she wouldn't.
Like, she's oblivious to what could happen.
But I think that's part of just like, and I'm not saying that like no parents have this conversation, but like I feel like that's part of the thing that this movie is sort of subtly trying to show is like, this is the world kids live in, so let's just accept that and like prepare them accordingly. Like in some of the interviews, like Bo Burnham was talking about, like, I want like every middle school kid to see that scene to understand, like, these are like the power dynamics that society has created, and we just got to know that if we're all gonna like move forward. I will lead into one of my topics is the fact that this movie doesn't really have a plot, and I think part of what makes this so good at capturing growing up is the fact that there's no like major goal for Kayla, and there's not like it's not doing like typical 3 act structure things, and there's not really a climax. Like it reminds me a lot of, we kind of talked about the ending before where it doesn't feel like everything's solved. It reminded me a lot of the end of Inside Out, where it's like at face value, like if you take away all the like stuff happening in the mind in Inside Out, like it's really just 3 days of very little happening, but there's a huge internal character change that happens. And this is, you know, kind of the same thing, except we don't have the whole like animated mindscape that Inside Out has. There's really not much that happens in terms of like a story, but everything that does, like all of the different like scenes have a major impact on Kayla, and at the end, like it does feel like she's had an arc. So first question for this, do you guys agree that there's no plot, or would you argue that there is?
I think it was missing a car chase.
Yeah, I think this is actually, I think it would have really done well on a train if they were all after a briefcase. And that was actually like the time capsule was the briefcase, and they were all trying to figure out what they put in.
And switch Kayla out with, I'm thinking Brad Pitt.
Inspired casting.
No, but I agree. I don't think there's a plot.
Yeah, no, there's no plot. There's things that happen in the plot, and I think there's elements of a plot, but no, there isn't.
Right, it's not like completely disconnected. But...
No, there's like her being down leading up to the climax. I was wondering if he was going to do that, and he did with the whole. I mean, it was a really, it was like what we see of her rock bottom out of this movie right after the car scene, and that led to the climax, quote unquote, that was graduation, or the quote again quotes inciting incident of the being invited to the pool party. I guess.
Yeah, I think if there's any inciting incident, like...
Yeah, you'd have to purposely look for these elements, though, if anything. Like, it doesn't... I think if we didn't know about the structures, this wouldn't feel like a traditional movie.
I feel like if you really wanted to, like, map out, like, a 3-act structure for this, you could.
Yeah.
But it also, like, it's all internal. Like, none of those external events would really connect to each other on, like, in a larger way.
Mm-hmm.
Again, outside of like her arc. So does the lack of like typical plot things or 3-act structure beats, like, does that work for both of you here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Does for me as well. I just wanted to like not make assumptions that it was. I was comparing this to a lot of other movies that I kind of classify as like not having a plot, quote unquote. The definition of that is a little bit loose, but I'm just going to list off a few. Frances Ha, Under the Skin, Blonde, Apollo 10.5. I'm thinking of Ending Things, The Lighthouse, Roma, Mother, Lemon, Nocturnal Animals, Boyhood, Fruitvale Station, Lost in Translation, Cleo from 5 to 7. Sorry if that was too long of a list. On the whole, like that list that I just went through, most of those I don't really like. There's a couple in there that I think are okay. But I was thinking about, like, what is the deciding factor? If your movie doesn't have a plot, what do you need to hook me in? And I'm saying that for me personally, but I want you guys to answer that too. Like, if something doesn't have, like, a traditional plot, what does it need to work for you?
Good characters. Like, what else is left, bro?
Yeah, I feel like it has to have like at the base, like, I forget what his name was. He was a screenwriting adjunct professor, Martin something Fisher. And he loved to talk about there's plot and then there's story. And like, that's really, if there's not a plot. I just need to have the character journey. Like, even if it's through kind of like slice of life like this, and like it's vignette and we kind of get it connected through like a motif of the videos and everything, that's fine. I just need to see the journey that by the time the movie starts and ends, the character is in a different place. Maybe not physically or literally, but emotionally, something, spiritually, something has to have changed.
Yeah, I think it is character, at least for me. Like, there's some cases where I might not watch a movie for the story. Like, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo has a plot, but I really just watch it for the David Fincher vibes. So I think in some cases it's like that, or we just talked about the John Wick trilogy, where like, or I think most people who watch those movies don't really care about like having a satisfying story. We're just there for the action.
I don't. We just watched them, and I don't remember any of them.
Yeah, but like, I mean, those movies still have, like, I would say those have a plot. Like, it's there. It's not what we care about, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just like put in, we're showing you this experience and then leave it at that. Because like, the two of these that, or I guess three, that I feel like are kind of fail where this succeeds, at least for me personally, is Francis Ha, Roma, and Boyhood, where all of those are kind of like a similar thing where it's mostly like disconnected events in these characters' lives, but and I think the reason varies for why each of those don't work for me as much. But one thing that this does that at least two of those don't is that Kayla at least makes decisions here and has like, she doesn't have an overarching goal, but she has goals. She has wants. I feel like Roma and Boyhood are two of those movies where like it really is just like disconnected events, and they don't really make any choices. They don't do a whole lot. Like, I feel like half of Roma isn't even really about the main character, and when it is, like, she makes like two choices in that movie, and I couldn't even tell you what they are, and I only watched it like 3 weeks ago.
Didn't it win an Oscar?
It was up for a bunch. I'm sure it won something. I know a lot of people like it, so I don't want to like shit on it too much. But I've tried it twice, and I want to like it, but I really just wish I was watching Children of Men while watching it. Anyway, the other thing, and I'll kick this back over to you guys in a sec, but like one other thing that I think makes this successful, where some other stuff isn't, is that it's such a condensed amount of time. Because like Boyhood is stretched out over 12 years, whatever. It's a huge amount of time, and it's like trying to capture this kid's experience, and I gotta try it again, but I feel like it fails at really doing that because we're just getting like this smattering of 12 years, and I think condensing it really helps. Because probably my favorite of that list of like 15 no plot movies that I listed off is Fruitvale Station, and that might be one of the shortest. Actually, the two that are up there are Cleo from 5 to 7 and Fruitvale Station. Fruitvale Station is one day. Cleo from 5 to 7 is literally just 90 minutes of movie, 90 minutes of narrative time. Like, it's this French woman from the hours of 5 to 7 in one afternoon.
Her name's Cleo.
Yep.
I'm disappointed it's not 5 to 7 minutes. I thought it'd be 5 to 7 minutes.
Didn't you see that? Were you we saw that in film history.
Cleo 5 to
I
7?
like that one.
Which one
Yeah.
was
It's Agnes Varda, and she goes to like the fortune teller, and they're like, "Ooh, you're gonna die."
Yeah, and she like walks in a park with some dude at the end. I remember liking that one though. But both of those movies, they're very short amounts of time, but they do a good job at giving us this kind of full picture of these characters' lives. Do you guys feel like the time matters with it, like the condensing?
that? Yeah, this is like a week, right?
Yeah. Like, but do you feel like on the whole that enhances it? Or like, I don't know if there's other examples we want to bring in.
Yes, it probably enhances it.
And I think it also works with like the moments they picked out. Like when I think back to at least me in 8th grade, like the moments that stuck out to 8th grade David, and like the moments I wanted to do in the week, like I wasn't like, ooh, eating dinner with my dad. Like, I think cherry picking, like going to the mall, that's like a pretty monumental deal. The first trip to the mall as a middle schooler to like hang out with your friends. And then like I remember the end of the year pool party that some kid always used to have, and that was like a big deal to get the invite. So I related to a lot of the moments that like they did pick to kind of connect the themes of like her internal conflicts, and that kind of helped. Like, even though it was in an actual week, it didn't feel like that to me. Like, it felt like a lived experience as a kid at that time, because you really just focus on like the things you're trying to like achieve socially or like you're looking forward to.
It also makes sense that it's all happening at the end of her middle school career, though. Like, she's trying to do these things before graduating anyway, so it makes sense. Like, in this final week, it's do or die. I'm gonna hang out, I'm gonna make a friend, yell at Kennedy, all this.
Yeah, so there is like kind of a clock that we have to an extent.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that for most of it, but it is kind of there.
Yeah.
That helps raise the stakes.
See, I didn't feel that, but I also had a very unique like low pre-K, kindergarten, lower school, middle school, high school experience, because it was all the same like academy. It was all the same school. So
oh, right, yours
eighth
was
grade,
K to
was
12.
like, yeah. So we were like, all right, we'll see you next year.
Jesus. I can't
Moving over to
imagine.
that building.
I can't imagine doing that. Knowing the same people for 12 plus years. Well, 12.
Yeah,
I feel like it really stunts you socially.
Yeah, definitely.
I had
Imagine
the complete opposite because I moved 2,000 miles plus away
Military
from my
family.
school the day after I graduated 8th grade.
Yeah, military family, bro.
Yeah.
I grew up in the same town, but we had like different, aside from the kindergarten and the high school, we had different places to that all of us can. Well, we had like one other high school, but you had to be like, you had to take a test to get in. But we had options as far as elementary and middle school went, and then we all just came back together in high school. Like, oh shit, I haven't seen you since elementary school. People didn't really reconnect like that. Not that I saw. So we all had different experiences.
I guess my biggest takeaway with this is just like, if you don't have a plot, then you need to get us invested in your characters. And this does a good job of that, where I think a lot of other movies, like, again, like Boyhood, I feel like tries really hard to do that. But ultimately, like, you got to do enough traditional movie things. Like, there's still ups and downs for her. She always has a goal, and there's different goals that she has and like different things that she's dealing with at every point. But there's always something that is like keeping us hooked in at every point. Like, I never felt like the energy dropped out.
You know what else is the opposite of this, but also growing up story? Superbad.
Oh, I thought about that, yeah. When I was watching this, I was like, wow, this is a different
I
time.
was just like, this is, for whatever reason, this is way closer to how my experience was than whatever the fuck happened in Superbad. I mean, I would hope most people's experiences weren't super bad. Like, very much a movie.
That is a fairly good contrast, I think, though. I was not thinking of Superbad while watching this. One more thing with this topic that I had. I think, Jelani, you kind of alluded to it earlier, but I like that we don't have, like, a resolution for all the minor characters.
Yeah.
Like, we never get it, like, after, like, halfway through the movie, like, Aiden stops mattering, and we get, like, the fake out at the graduation
I
where
was
it
really
looks like
hoping
she's
she
gonna go
wasn't going
talk
that
to
way.
him. And then she ends up talking to Kennedy, and even that, like, is kind of, that's, like, the closest we get to a resolution.
Talking to her feet.
Yeah, but I like that. I feel like that would have felt disingenuous to like try to wrap everything up nice and neat. And we do get a little bit of it, I guess, because like apparently she becomes friends with Gabe at the end, which I don't know how to feel about. But like it's kind of. Did either of
What do
you
you mean?
cringe so hard when it was like, oh, she's making friends? Oh no, it's one of the Szechuan sauce Rick and Morty fans.
Well, especially when he said, "Oh, you know what could go good with this," I was like, "Oh, don't do it." And then he did it, and then I started doing the impression. I was like, "Ooh."
Oh God.
Oh, she's gotta run.
It started bad, but he was just like, "Oh, I didn't mean to leave this there." I was
This
just like,
archery
dude.
thing.
Even in the pool, he was like, "I could do a handstand. You want to see it?" And I was just like, "This is too much."
I know, but like
Of course
I
it's gonna
so
be him.
knew those kinds of kids at like that age. Like he feels like so real.
Yeah. Those chicken nuggets and fries look trash.
They really did. Like him trying to dress them up made them look so much worse.
Ugh. Were they drinking water with it? You don't drink water with chicken nuggets and fries. What are you, a child? Wait.
Well, yes.
Wait.
And he had like every sauce under the sun in front of
In
her.
rainbow
Just, like,
order.
He really,
if she desired any, which one?
he really did.
David, let's move to your topic.
Mine was just the portrayal of technology and social media in a coming of age story. Most of the coming of age stories I'm exposed to is like predates that, and I feel like the most technology heavy it got was like flip phones and like texting. So this was interesting to see a really raw and honest portrayal of, like John Alani said, like what I guess it was like to be a kid with like every social media under the sun at your disposal.
Yeah.
And kind of that was how you socialized, because that's how like they are at every like gathering. They're just like on their phones, and then they'll like look up and be like, uh-huh. And I'm very intrigued by that, because that wasn't how it was for me, and I still had the anxiety that Kayla's going through, so I can't even imagine like that on top of it. With it would just be like through the roof. So I found that really appealing. And then from like a writing standpoint, like we've kind of been saying, I found it really smart for Bo to kind of link these scenes and these different character moments for Kayla on her journey with the video journal, so we can kind of see a different side to her, and like the projections. And if you're really paying attention to what she's saying versus how she's acting, you can really get a keen view on who she is and how she maneuvers her world and how she feels about herself. And I found it to be a really kind of nuanced portrayal of what it was like to be a middle schooler, because I really related to it. And I'm glad she never got like
Popular.
a ton of views or blew up or had the downfall, or like that ABC Family like cyberbullying.
That's like the studio version of this movie.
Yeah, right. Because like I've seen the technique before of like social media, like all the way back to like Emily Osment's like ABC Family movie. So it was cool to see it not just be like thrown away by like old executives who don't understand how it's used, and they're like, they just bully on the internet with gigabytes. And it's like, oh, this is actually like how it is, and the impact of like socially how it could hurt you, and how you see yourself, and how you go about your world, and how you communicate. And I found it really effective.
When she was like, there was this one time a kid, or I invited a weird kid to my pool party, and they ended up being like super cool and chill, even though in school they were weird. And I was just like, oh yeah.
And everyone liked them, and they were the talk of the party.
You're doing that.
And that was another thing, like how you were saying, they really captured the dialogue of what it means to be a kid, and like the stuttering and the ums and the back and forth, and kind of talking back when like you realize you've talked your point into a corner, and you're like, what am I even talking about? Oh yeah, this is what I meant. And and it's like she does that so much in the videos. It felt so real. I was like, yeah, that's what it's like to be a middle schooler.
Yeah, and that's like all in the script too. Like it feels very improv, because she does an amazing job acting. But like Bo Burnham has talked about, he just like was really he watched like a bunch of these types of videos and just tried to imitate the style, and that's how it is.
Yeah. And you know damn well she ain't never know what she was talking about. Well, most of it.
Right. Well, I think it's such an interesting device, because you can see what she wants to think about her, like how she wants to project. But then there's the part near the end where she's like, I think I maybe shouldn't be doing these videos because I don't really know these things that I'm talking about. And it is like the next topic is going to be self-awareness for characters. But I feel like it's still really honest there, where it's like she's articulating it in a way that like makes sense to her, and it's like it's probably what she's kind of been feeling under the surface the whole time she's been doing this channel. Like the confidence is that she's trying to project is like you feel the falseness of it the whole time. Like I never get the sense that she is fully kidding herself.
Yeah.
Like I think there's always a part of her that knows that like she's not qualified to talk about whatever the topic of each video is, but it's just under the surface in this and again that's mostly credit to Elsie Fisher's performance, like just brilliantly acted.
I definitely wouldn't want to grow up now, like with social media being where it is. I wouldn't want to grow up in this time. Like I said, I mean, you guys were a year behind me, so
I think we're 2 grades behind you, which may not really matter that much, but
make me feel older. Thank you. Yeah, by the time like I was allowed to get on the social, like back to the social media topic, by the time I was allowed to get on certain social media sites, everyone was already like on to the next one. And like by the time I got on Facebook, people were already on Snapchat and Instagram. I think it was for the best though, because I would have been worrying about like the number of followers more than I already did worry about them. The connection of social media is good, I think, but posting everything isn't. Like posting your entire life on there, especially from a young age, and then like shit can get toxic and dramatic really quickly, especially among middle and high schoolers. So I'm not gonna say I'm surprised it didn't. There's a tiny bit of that in this, but yeah, I wouldn't want to grow up now. Social media ruined life. Social media bad.
I don't know that this movie is really saying that though. Like it feels very not judgmental about it.
That's why I'm saying it was like a tiny, not even really any of that. Like she never worried about her followers or anything, or even her subscribers. No, at the beginning she was like, could you guys like share? I was like, nobody's watching, so nobody's gonna share. No, he's definitely not saying social media bad. I'm just saying, just in general, social media is trash. I say that this is being posted to multiple social media sites.
I don't know if I would call Spotify social media.
Yeah, I mean YouTube is though.
That's true.
I do like that none of the characters like rub it in her face though. Like I was waiting for Kennedy or one of them to have like a real mean girl moment and be like, ooh, Gucci, and then like all of them be making fun of her, like them like showing the video or something. But like I'm really like the choice that they don't, because I think it drives home like this is in her head, it's her own internal battle and insecurities and anxiety that she has to get over before you can even look to other people, because she's not giving herself the chance.
You have 2 followers and one of them's your dad. I was expecting that.
I also like that it's not there because I think it's just not true to the struggle she's having. Like, it's not about her being bullied. It's about her feeling invisible. Like, and again, I'm really glad they didn't make this, like, the whole goal of the movie. But, like, near the beginning, she gets awarded most quiet. That feels like it could, like, I'm sure that has, like, a bigger effect on her than we really see.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I feel like a big deal isn't really made of it, but that feels like it's just highlighting that it's like it's not as if people are mean to her, people just ignore her. And is that worse? I don't really want to like debate that because I feel underqualified to, but like that's kind of her struggle here, is just like, does anyone even see me in the first place?
I don't even think we knew her name until that point. Did she ever say her name prior to that?
Probably in the first video. I think she must have said it, because the opening scene has her, like, one of her vlogs, I think. Or does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does.
I don't remember her saying her name, because when she got to the assembly and they announced her name and she put her head down, I was just like, are you Kayla? Or are you upset you didn't get voted for most quiet? And then the fucking teachers in this were awful. I imagine the incompetence maybe is like that. generally across America. Like the disconnect between teachers and students, because dude walked in and dabbed, and I was just like, are you serious? What student do you think is going to see that and be like, oh, Mr. I can't think of the last name. Mr. Jones is, no, that's David's last name.
I don't know what this is about.
Well, by the time David's old enough to be a teacher and dabbing, it might be cool again.
It was never cool.
Just be like, this is what we used to do when I was 13. Yeah.
Come on, students, watch me fuck it up.
Yeah, that was another thing. I was just like, oh god. I wondered if that was gonna be another like thing, like the teachers being so out of the loop when it comes to their students. Like, Kayla, you don't have any friends. As your guidance counselor, I need you to make some friends or some shit like that.
Yeah, again, I feel like that's the studio version of this.
Yeah.
They're like, and then they'll literally lay it out. It's the last week of 8th grade, Kayla. This is the last time for you to make a big impression before you go off to the big world of high school where you're just a little fish in a big pond. Do you want to be a little fish in a big pond, Kayla? No, you want to be a big fish in a little pond, and that's where you're at right now. Go out there, Kayla.
It's painful how accurate that is.
I feel like I've heard and watched that movie, whatever you're doing. I feel like I've seen it before. I don't know where.
No, because that's basically the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie. Like, it's not that, but it's close.
Doesn't he do it to himself, though?
Yes,
He talks about that,
yes, but, like,
to
it's
himself.
that kind of thing. And I'm just so glad that, like, again, this movie feels like it's made more for adults than kids. But, like, I'm just so glad that it does that.
Yeah, social media is, get off your phones and look up.
Well, one of the repeated things that I heard Bo Burnham talk about in interviews about this was like he never wanted to end the movie with her throwing her phone in the ocean and then everything being fine is like the phrase he kept saying. Like,
That's funny.
That would have been funny.
it would have been, but like it would also ruin the movie.
Yeah, but for a good laugh, who cares?
It would be so cheesy.
She throws her phone in the ocean and then
Everything is fine.
she
And then Gabe's just like behind her.
Oh no!
yeah,
The pose.
fixes her posture and stops stuttering and gets straight A's. Everything is, and then she is high school.
And then she becomes 9th grade. One thing I was thinking that like almost instantly outdates this movie is there is no TikTok here. So like is this even relevant anymore?
I would probably hate this movie more if TikTok was in this.
Agree, but like that is probably an essential thing to being in middle school right now is TikTok culture.
Hey guys, I'm gonna do this drink bleach challenge. We'll see where it gets me.
Mm-hmm. But all the challenges are the biggest deal in middle school. Like all of that up to the minute stuff, I feel like is, and like they tried so hard with this
Even
to
in high
make
school.
sure that it was as
less.
up to the minute as it could be.
Well, that's the one thing about the pool party scene that actually like surprised me was I was expecting a lot more of them. Like I was ready to see like no one in the pool and just see like everyone standing around on their phones or sitting like dry on their phones. But like a decent amount of people were in the pool and I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Kids are still being present and not just like obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
They were flossing though. Like there were like two girls flossing. I was just like, oh boy. Yeah, that's from the Fortnite, I think.
I don't think so though, because Fortnite was 2018, I think, right?
There was some kid that did it as like a song or something, and Fortnite stole it because Fortnite stole a bunch of dances.
Oh, okay. So flossing predates Fortnite. Okay. I'm never good at being.
It was
up on these
popularized,
trends, so.
super popularized in Fortnite because
They do steal like every emote though. Like it's crazy.
the default dance is straight up from Scrubs, the like 2001 Doctor TV comedy show.
From what I can tell, Fortnite seems to have just completely dominated the culture of like all middle school boys. Now, do you guys remember? I feel like there wasn't a big thing like that for us.
No, it wasn't Minecraft for me. Minecraft wasn't.
It was
cool
big,
and
but like it's
popular.
not like everyone did Minecraft.
Clash of Clans was pretty big for me in high school. Like
I
even
feel like if there was one
in a
game
circle.
that came out in like the middle school years for me that everybody got and played, it was Skyrim. Like everybody was like Skyrim, but that could have just been my school.
For me, it was mobile games. So Flappy Bird when that was popular,
Ah, Flappy
a lot of
Bird.
people were on that. Like I said, Clash of Clans. I think 2048 was another one.
But it's not
And
Oh
like
like
the
yeah,
entire
2048.
culture the way that like Fortnite is just its own culture. It's not as if like if you didn't play 2048, it's not like you were ostracized from like all conversation. If you don't play Fortnite now, I think it's just like you're
Among
done.
Us.
Among Us, I guess that's another one.
Yeah,
Well,
before Skyrim, I would say it was like Call of Duty for my school, and like
oh, GTA I think was pretty big.
Call of Duty Zombies specifically. Like
That
that was
too.
like everything.
Yep. GTA 5, people were on that like crazy. I kind of wish I had an Xbox. Like I wanted an Xbox to play with my group of friends because they were all on Xbox. They were talking about their clans and stuff, and I was like, shit, man, I'm missing out on that. I didn't. I don't really care now, but I think GTA. If we're talking about games, GTA was pretty big, and it's still going. It survived 3 generations of consoles. That's another topic.
David, did you have more for the social media technology topic?
Just I think we all kind of agree, but so it was a fact. Did you guys didn't dislike the videos? There was never a moment where you were like, all right, this is enough. Kayla doing her Instagram video shtick, like you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
It was fine. It's just I never looked forward to hearing Gucci. That was it.
All right, I'll take that. That's all.
The one thing, this doesn't have a ton to do with the movie itself, but like I feel like this is, I'm going to generalize here for a second, but I feel like the thing that I always hear about when talking about like the way internet culture affects us is that like Instagram makes like every teenage girl feel incredibly insecure about their appearance, and this movie seems to kind of capture that. I feel like what I hear, and again, generalizing a lot, but like I feel like the thing I hear about like teenage younger boys is how it radicalizes them. And I would like to see a movie that captures that in the way that this captures the like girls and Instagram thing. Again, generalizing a lot there, but like that is a big problem that I have like only recently become aware of, that but has been around for a while.
What do you mean by radicalizing?
Like taking basically like 11-year-olds and turning them into white supremacists is a problem that exists.
Okay.
And it's largely through like online gaming, apparently.
And that's only Call of Duty.
I've heard it's beyond that. Maybe I don't know. I've never
No,
done online
that's just a
gaming.
joke. If you do want to get called a slur at any point in your life, though, you join a Call of Duty lobby.
Just open your mouth at a party chat in Call of Duty. And they'll
Yeah.
be like, ah.
All sorts of slurs that probably don't even have to do with you or who you are.
I hate when I hear about that though. Like I wasn't on social media until college, but like once I've like heard about like the kind of stuff that happens, I'm like, oh wow, thank God IMDb was the only part of the internet I was on in high school, because it sounds like there's just so much out there that I was not aware of.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's a terrible world, man. Strangers are horrible, especially behind the screen.
yeah, but I feel like it's the double-edged sword of the internet is like that exists, but at the same time it's like you can also be like a kid who's in like a super homophobic community where the internet is the only place where people can like tell you that your existence is not a sin. So it's like it can be a lifeline for people in some ways, and it can be this like incredibly toxifying thing in other ways, and both those things exist via the same mechanisms. So
Nah, what
like,
I'm trying to say is, guys, don't go outside. You'll be safe if you don't go outside or use internet, ever.
I would say do go outside if you want to not use the internet.
The world is a cruel and unjust place in more than one medium. So if you stay inside, by yourself forever.
And read a book.
Don't even do that, because, books might call you a slur now. It's dangerous. Protect yourself from everything. This has been a Walmart ad.
Okay, well, if we're done with that, we can move into the last topic, which is character self-awareness. So we already talked about the videos, which is, like, probably the biggest point where it comes up. So do you guys feel like Kayla has a realistic level of self-awareness? I feel like mostly yes. There's a couple moments that it kind of toes the line. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there are a couple moments, like especially her like description of anxiety and like that at such a young age. Like I had no even idea. Like if someone was to tell me I had anxiety, I would have been like lies. It would have been just like denial and delusion. But for the most part, like I do believe it.
Yeah, ditto. Times 2.
Okay, so then I'll move to the broader question for this. Where is the line, do you guys think, where a character becomes too self-aware? Like, to the point where we can't believe it as an audience? I don't know if that's the best way to phrase that question, but go ahead with it.
That's hard because it really depends. For like this movie, I think this movie, like you don't want a character who's too self-aware in this movie, because this movie I think works so hard on the vulnerability and the realism that's happening and like the honesty that I feel like unless like the character is self-aware, like I don't want like this, at least for this character Kayla, her anxiety, her insecurities, all of that, her inner conflict, I think if she was that level of self-awareness, I would question why she would be also having these issues socially and just like in day-to-day life, if that makes sense. Versus like in Scream, like so much of that movie is meant to be self-aware that like I want my characters to be self-aware because I'm getting something from it.
Right, in that case it feels less true to them if they aren't. Like you want, I have only limited knowledge, but like I feel like if you have a character in that movie that's never seen a horror movie, then that's kind of a betrayal there.
Right.
It's kind of a genre thing as well, I guess. Where do you feel like the line is, Jelani?
Like your note says, I think it depends on the character.
Yeah, I had a few examples. If you think of anything, cut me off. But I had a few examples I was thinking of. The two that like really stuck with me were Abed from Community and Will Hunting from Good Will Hunting. Like those characters are like Abed is just meta off the walls. So for him to not be self-aware would kind of be a betrayal of that. But then like Troy can only be so self-aware, and that's part of why they're like such a great duo. But like you just have to feel it out with both of them. I kind of came to the conclusion with this topic, like, I think it's just kind of the line is different for every character based on, like, age, education, just, like, general level of intelligence. The scene I was thinking of in Good Will Hunting, like, there's the part where Will's talking about, like, so my file, it says, like, I have attachment disorders and, like, stuff like that. I forget the exact line, but he basically is able to say like, yeah, I get what my on-paper diagnosis is. And I feel like that's just, you kind of need a moment like that for him because he's too smart to not be self-aware. It would feel wrong for him to not know that. But then with other characters, like, if they were able to articulate their flaws or whatever, that would feel equally untrue to them. I'm trying to think of like a good example, but a genre where this comes up like really blatantly is mockumentary comedies like Abbott Elementary or The Office.
I love Abbott.
Abbott's so good.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just like the structure of
I
those.
know, it's just so good.
Yeah, I really like it too. I haven't seen the second season yet. Like the whole point of those kinds of shows is to have like the interviews where the character is saying one thing and then you go right to them doing something that contradicts that in some way. it kind of goes back to a thing that I think we all learned, and we've talked about it once or twice on the show before, but like that hierarchy of ways to expose character, where you have the thing a character says about themselves, what other characters say about them.
Oh yeah,
actions.
The thing Matt showed us.
Yeah, and then the way I've been taught, the top of that is how do other characters react to them. But the least reliable of those is what a character says about themselves.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is kind of playing with that. And again, the videos are like a great example of it still tells us something, but if you take the literal words that Kayla is saying, those aren't true. We're able to infer them, but she is not present, like, if you take at face value what she is telling us about herself, that is unreliable.
Gucci is a lie.
So false.
Why not pick any? Like, why Gucci? No,
Gucci.
That was actually something Elsie Fisher came up
David.
with
God,
as like
damn it.
as like a tick to do. I forget how she says it, but there's a couple interviews where she talks about it. I watched a lot of
Elsie?
interviews, and if people are interested, I encourage you to go watch them because they're.
You said Elsie came up with that?
Yeah, that wasn't in the script. That was a thing she came up with.
God.
She understood her character.
Oh, too well.
But I think
And
that's
then,
what
like,
helps
she
with
still
it,
she
though.
had the whole depressing. Oh, guys, this is my last video, and then she still ended with. I was like, bro. I was like, she said bye. Okay, she's not gonna do Gucci this time. Interesting. Maybe she's really depressed now, and then she still said, I was just like, fuck, man, why are you still doing that? Dumb.
But like that's how YouTubers are. Like a lot of them have those like cringy trademark sign off things or whatever.
A lot of them, I feel, are also sociopaths.
Wouldn't shock me from what I've heard about some high profile ones. Yeah.
Like, it's freaky. I don't like acting because you kind of just have to turn on that personality, but some of them don't turn it off. Some of them they'll be having the worst day ever and just click it on. I'm just like, that's probably not healthy. Somewhere along the way, they lose themselves. And then by that point, is it really all Gucci?
Wow. You either die a hero.
Either die Gucci or you live long enough to see yourself become Versace.
Oh my god.
I don't know, is that a good contrast? Is Versace the opposite of Gucci?
There's no.
I mean, I feel like it's not bad. They're both Italian. So like they're fighting.
You live long enough to see yourself become Michael Kors?
No, that's a real like insult.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's long enough to see yourself become coach. I don't know.
Right? Long enough to see yourself become Kmart.
Oh, there we go.
That's painful. Yeah, there it is.
How do you guys go about because part of why I thought about this is I got a note recently for something that I wrote that said like the character self-awareness here feels inconsistent. So I've only really been consciously thinking about it like since then and since watching this movie. Do you guys ever like consciously do anything to like deal with character self-awareness in writing or acting, I guess?
No.
Really nothing? Because I feel like when I write, at least the first draft, because I used to get this note from Koffel too, it was a big thing for me in my rewrites where like my character, like at least the first draft, I would get the bones and like where I needed the scenes to move, but my characters were not speaking in their truth. Like it was so a writer's self-awareness put onto a character when where I needed them to go. And it's like from there, I'm usually able more to derive who the character is and then in a rewrite write the scene from a more honest place. But yeah, I struggle with that a lot where my characters will just, and I also like that more like witty kind of humor, so that also lends to a character who's more self-aware too. So I deal with it a bit.
I probably asked because I have only recently really started thinking about it, so I haven't really taken a conscious effort with that in writing. Like it's there, and like I still do plenty of work for like creating characters, but I'm not usually. It's a tricky thing, I feel like, because we have to, as writers, try to have as deep a knowledge of our characters as possible, but then we have to limit what they know about themselves, which is kind of a tricky balance sometimes.
No, I'm so good at that. I'm so good at writing like dialogue and understanding my characters fully. Where I'm just like, damn, they really write themselves, honestly. I'm like half joking, but like I normally really understand the characters I'm writing. As far as acting, I don't really know. I normally just follow the script.
I haven't thought about it with acting either. Like, I don't do most of the acting I do is improv anyway, so it's not. I don't like spend time with the character like you probably do for scripted stuff, but I feel like it comes up there probably, so that's why I included that in the question.
Yeah, when it comes to acting, I'm so nervous to add anything that isn't like in the character's backstory, because I don't want to. Like, of course, it doesn't have to come out in the film. Like, I added the fact that this character's father is really this character's uncle. Like, I normally don't add stuff, and it ends up being fine. But yeah, as far as my character stuff goes, for whatever reason, like the manga I'm writing, I normally just understand the character really well, and I love like freestyling dialogue. So with me knowing who the characters are, I know who would do and say what in like conversational settings and such. Humble brag. Not really humble.
Well, I feel like that's a perfectly good way to go about it. To like, it's not. I think you, from what I can tell, you tend to spend way more time on backstory than I do with my characters, which is
Do I?
from what I've seen of it, which is limited. But like, I know I tend to not do backstory, and I feel like that's something that, at least for Descended, which is most of what I've read for you, like you spend a lot of time in that book on backstories for all the characters. So
Second novel coming soon. I got the art for it. I'm pretty good at it. I'm pretty Gucci at it.
yeah, my takeaways for this is just like I guess like it's something self-awareness is something you have to feel out for each individual character. There's not like as far as I can tell, there's not like a good technique. You just have to take a lot of things into account. But also the kind of like I want to like find other versions. Like I've been thinking about for something that I'm about to start writing is like having job interviews as kind of like a place where a character can do something kind of performative where they can project a certain thing and then we can see their psychology. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I'm playing with that idea, partly inspired by this movie. I kind of prefer that to like I haven't seen a ton of stuff that does this, but I feel like I prefer that kind of thing to seeing a character in therapy. Not that it can't work, because it can. Good Will Hunting, again, great example of that. But it's a thing where you can have more subtext rather than like a therapy session where a character is literally being asked about like their internal world and what they're feeling. It's like a more interesting way to show it, to have it be this like kind of performance. It's a success of this movie, I think. Upcoming episodes, we have Bullet Train. We have our Patreon for $1 a month. 2 pretty recent episodes on there, the Tangents episode and John Wick trilogy. Also, we have a new video on John Wick on our YouTube channel. And you can still leave your picks for the 2022 awards in the comments on the YouTube video for that episode. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts if you like what you hear. Our logo's by Kelsey Hendry. I am on Letterboxd at ev_wes. And where are both of you?
Don't be a diesel, Ev. And I'm on Instagram at Jelani T. Kelly, Twitter at Jelani T. Kelly, YouTube at Jelani T. Kelly.
And David?
You know, it was really hard to pick a location in this movie that
There's
didn't
really
feel
none.
inappropriate because they're all children. So I'm just gonna be home. I'm not anywhere. I'm gonna be in my nice home.
Yeah, there's really no locations to choose. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Oh wait, that mall was the Palisades Center up by me
Oh, really?
in West Nyack, New York. I've been to that. I had like my birthday there. There's like a Dave and Buster's there. I'm almost fly.
Cool. I don't know if I can add to that, but that's cool.
All right, Gucci.
Gucci.